award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Mr.
Yes.
Don King is helping co-host today.
You bet. And hey, shout out to the radio real quick up
Might
front.
as well.
All
Jump
right.
into it.
103.7 Muletown Radio in Columbia, Tennessee. WKRM. We appreciate them carrying the Wildcast as well as our other 22 radio partners.
Yeah, isn't that great to have that across the state
It
available
is,
for
yeah.
people to tune in?
Besides the podcast thing and all the other ways you can consume this show. So
Yeah, I was just thinking about it the other day. We're out there on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcasting apps, radio stations. Before you know it, we'll be everywhere.
we're everywhere, yeah.
And I bet you can ask Alexa to play Tennessee Wildcast podcast, and it'll come up too.
You've proved that to me. That's pretty awesome, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, we're excited about today's show. It's going to be all about turkeys
Talking
today, Don.
turkey, yeah. Looking forward to it.
Some changes were made in the commission meeting, and it was a few weeks ago, and what better time to talk about it than now before the season comes back around, and we got some summer surveys going on that we want to talk about today.
Good deal. Experts in the room.
Yes, experts in the room. We got Roger Shields with us. He's the Wild Turkey Program Coordinator, and Zach Collins, the Wildlife Support Biologist here at the Region 5 office. So we're excited to have you guys. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I've got a little beard envy today, though. Zach has shown us all up with his beard. I had to touch on that a little bit because I mean, how do you do that, man?
It's really not hard. It's pretty hands off. You just got to kind of sit back and let it happen on its own. So
Leave it alone, right?
Just happens naturally, right?
I'm just glad they let me have it up here.
Yeah. You said you get stopped a lot about people ask you about your beard.
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation starter. A lot of random people, but it's all in good fun. So.
Yeah. I'll have to introduce you to a friend of mine, Matt Cameron. He has some beard products. You might enjoy some of those.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Let's get into it. Roger, why don't you introduce yourself just a little bit? Tell us who you are, what you do for the agency real quick.
All right. Well, you kind of named my title, but
Yeah, touched on it.
Roger Shields, Wild Turkey Program Coordinator. I've been with the agency for about 3 years now. I've got responsibility for trying to help manage the turkey population statewide, which means I really am dependent on a lot of other people doing on-the-ground kind of stuff, either conducting surveys or, managing the fields on the WMAs and just collecting data, all kinds of stuff. So, I just look at a lot of data and try to help formulate, recommendations and write reports. But it's been fun. I've actually been kind of in the wild turkey world for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
Studied wild turkeys for my graduate work, and then I got hired in Florida, and I was down there for 18 years, I think about 15 of it, working with wild turkeys, and was fortunate to be able to get up here to Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so I've been loving Tennessee, so it's good.
I forget you spent 18 years there, and you don't look old enough to have spent 18 years in Florida before coming here.
It was good. It was a good time. I learned a lot.
Good.
But I just enjoy the mountains and being closer to mountains and waterfalls and just the outdoors.
Yeah.
I've never was really much of a beach person. They have beautiful beaches for those who love beaches. We lived right in Panama City. I mean, you couldn't get a better beach, but I just didn't care for it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not for everybody.
No, it wasn't for me. I like Tennessee.
All right.
So how was your
good.
turkey season this year? Did you kill a turkey or have a chance to get out?
I'm
Slow
ashamed
season?
to say I didn't get out but about 4 times, and
That's more than I did.
nothing worked out. So
Well, that happens.
yeah, I kind of got sick right at the beginning of the season. Didn't feel like even hunting, and by the time I got feeling better, I was just busy with everything and didn't get out very much. But
yeah, it gets warm, and sometimes you don't want to get out there as much. But
I tried when I went, but it just didn't pan out.
Yeah.
So
well, all right, Zach. You're new to the agency. People probably haven't met you, so go ahead and introduce yourself if you don't mind.
Yeah. So right after school, I went to school at UT Martin. Go Skyhawks.
Yeah.
But right after school, in that June, I got hired on at North Carolina Wildlife. I was a field tech out there for a year on the coast towards the Outer Banks, and and then about 3.5 years outside Raleigh, just working on the game lands out there, the WMAs.
Cool.
And then in August, I got hired on at AEDC, and I was a Tech 1 field tech out there for a few months. And then I put in for this Manager 1 position up here and as a support biologist. And in January, I made the move up to the headquarters office, and just been loving it ever since.
All right.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we're glad to have you up here. It's been fun working with you so far. I know we've worked together with the survey stuff we're going to talk about today, but yeah, good to have you up here.
Glad to be here.
How was your turkey season?
Also pretty uneventful. Nothing really worked out.
Couldn't make it happen.
No.
That happens. It's
still learning.
Yeah, it's a fun sport. Turkey hunting is fun to get into. It's challenging. It's exciting. A little bit different than deer hunting. So if you haven't tried it, get out there and do it. It's worth it. And you don't have to be great. You don't have to be a great caller.
No,
There's
so many different approaches to it. Some
Yeah.
of them are, they're what they call the run and gun, and some are just sit and be patient, and you can be successful in both approaches.
Yeah,
so just
for
whatever
sure.
you want. In fact, I'll share a little tidbit. I was at a symposium last week of all the turkey researchers and managers in the country, and one of the gentlemen from one of the other states, he shared a report that they'd done, or a little study they'd done, looking at what made successful hunters, or what things correlated with a hunter being successful. And the two most successful, or two strongest things, were your age and I can't remember the other one, but the age was the strongest one. It's just, and I think it's those older folks, they just are more patient. They just sit, because we were talking about that later, that one of the other guys, we were talking, and he said, I can't tell you how many times I just can't sit. I'll sit for an hour and a half. If nothing happens, I got to get up and move. And he said, I'll get up and move 2 or 3 places. I'll come back to where I was at, and I'll walk up there, and there'll be turkeys sitting there, where I was. And he's like, if I had just stayed, I would have been successful.
Exactly.
There, yeah.
Anyway, but like I said, it's fun when you get up and you move and you're chasing those birds and, just trying to find them. So
Yeah.
to each their own.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the symposium. It just shows that you guys continue your education, you continue your studying. I mean, once you get through school, it's not over. Y'all are still working and educating and continuing to improve on techniques and ways to manage wildlife and all that. So working together with other states and
Certainly, yeah. And this is this particular symposium, we only hold it about once every 5 years. And it's just a great opportunity to kind of see where we're at with the research, with things that we're learning, things that we thought we knew that we're finding out we maybe didn't have right. And, it's fascinating. So
Yeah.
I love it. It's one of my favorite meetings to go to.
And you mentioned before, Roger, about all the data you have to go through, and that's kind of mind-boggling to me. All the data, all the information you have to sort through, and some of that comes from the symposiums and other places that you have to digest and present to the commission, so they ultimately make the call on the turkey seasons and bag limits and that kind of thing. And we saw some big changes this year.
Yeah, we commission made some changes, for sure.
That's a good transition, Don.
All right, thanks, Jason.
Yeah, they've made some changes, and I wanted to touch on those today. And I'm gonna give you all a sneak peek. If you're watching, you're gonna get to see the turkey page in the hunting guide.
There it is.
So let's walk through some of these changes. Maybe first start with the bag limits. What are we doing with the bag limits this year?
Well, if you don't mind, let me back up just a little bit.
Or that'd be fine too.
Kind of set a little bit of a stage here as to why some of these changes took place. We've reported, as you said, we analyzed the data and reported on that, and we've seen fairly consistent for the past 15, 16 years. The harvest really hasn't changed much. It's we have our ups and downs from year to year, and based on that, everything seems to be hunky dory. But what we also are hearing from a lot of hunters, landowners, that the number of birds they see out on the landscape has been declining. And commissioners are hearing that. We're hearing that. Our surveys that we do of hunters have clearly shown that has the number of people who have seen or perceiving fewer turkeys on the landscape has increased in the last 5 or 6 years. So there was a desire on the part of the commission to do something. We can see that this is going on, and there's maybe a time to do something. And so one of the actions they chose to make was to reduce the bag limit. So 2 years ago, they reduced it from 4 to 3, and they decided to go even further this year and took it down to 2. And so, yeah, it's for the spring season, the bag limit moving forward will be 2 turkeys.
Yeah, so we got that on the screen, and the seasons this year, April 8th and 9th is the Young Sportsman, and April 15th through May 28th is the...
Yeah, and for those who are avid turkey hunters, you'll recognize those dates seem a little different than what you've seen in the past 20 years because
about 2 weeks later,
it's
aren't
2
they?
weeks delay, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And again, that just an effort on, again, the part of the commission, maybe to give those birds more of an opportunity to do their breeding, unperturbed by hunters, and not having any of the gobblers removed until closer to the peak of what we consider the nesting period. Most first nests get started in Tennessee here by about the middle of April, and so they wanted to bump back the season until about the middle of April and just kind of let most of those birds get bred, get sitting on nests, and kind of done with their thing, and then we can get out there and start chasing those gobblers. So, yeah, and that delay will kind of bring a lot of the state that had been. We've had some WMAs that were starting later. We had some counties that were starting later. So this actually kind of brings most of the state back into alignment again.
Okay.
And maybe will be simpler for hunters now. They won't have to. Well, is hunting on a WMA that's. I mean, you still need to check.
Yeah.
But for the most part, things should be close to being in line now.
Awesome. Yeah, that'll make it a little bit easier for folks to know when opening day is, and everybody gets out there together. If you're looking or watching the show, you see that there's some additional information there about fans and wings and things like that, beard length, and there's been some changes into how many jakes you can take, right?
Yeah, that was another thing that the commissioners had discussed, and they decided to, in addition to limiting the bag limit to 2 turkeys, only one of those moving forward can be a jake. And so we kind of try to define more so what makes an adult turkey, right? And then if it doesn't meet the criteria of an adult turkey, then you can only have one of those birds that doesn't meet that criteria, or in other words, a jake. But yeah, we're defining an adult bird as probably the thing that you can identify. The 2 things you can identify maybe the most, or the main one would be the beard. We want to see a 6-inch or longer beard. If it's not at least 6 inches, then it's not illegal. Well, it would be legal, but you can only have one that doesn't have a 6-inch beard.
Right.
And then, the wing feathers, we know on adults, that barring that goes down the flight feathers on the wing. On an adult, that barring will go all the way to the tip. And then on juveniles or jakes, the last 2 or 3 inches of that, the last feathers on that wing, it'll just be kind of a solid dark color. There won't be any white barring. Then on the tail fan, I think most people are familiar with the tail fan of a jake and how it's kind of the central few pairs of feathers are longer, and the reason they're longer is because those were molted. Those will be more adult feathers, and so they're bigger and longer than the adjoining juvenile feathers, which are shorter. So it kind of makes this uneven shaped fan. So if you see an uneven shaped fan, that's probably indication that you're looking at a jake or a juvenile bird. And then we want to give the hunters every benefit of the doubt. So if it is an adult bird, and for some reason the fan looks funny and and it's molted its feathers, and so the barring isn't right or whatever on the wing. But if it's got at least a 1/2-inch spur, we also know that's a good sign that it's an adult bird. So if you've got a 1/2-inch or longer spur on the bird, that's an adult. So those 4 criteria are pretty much what we're looking at.
Okay.
So we talked about patient hunters earlier in the show. You got to be a little more patient and know your target, before you pull the trigger this year. But I think this will be good. It's not what we recommended, I don't think, but it's some good changes. I think that'll hopefully improve.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some good things. In our field, we say you can't ever please everybody 100% of the time. So I know there's people who don't like the changes, but we're hopeful that it will lead to some things that will benefit hunters in the long term.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
awesome. And if we got the archery or the fall season there as well, anything changed in the fall season?
No, nothing really changing with the fall. It's primarily the spring season. Now, there was another change in terms of hunting tactics, if you want to call it that, or approaches that we can use.
Yep.
And that refers to, or is related to, the approach that some people call fanning or reaping, and the change will only apply on our WMAs, on public land WMAs, but that practice of fanning or reaping is not allowed anymore on our WMAs. And that was, there's still a lot of uncertainty about that practice, that hunting approach, both in terms of its efficiency as well as its safety. And I think just in an abundance of caution, the commissioners, decided on public land where it's less often the case where who else is out there.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
Just to be cautious and overly conservative in handling this situation until we have more information, more data to really look at, to maybe just be careful with it.
And just to be clear, the fanning is basically just hunting directly behind a tail fan, right?
Yeah, I was actually going to read the what we define it, because I want to make sure I don't miss anything and get it right here. But so again, fanning and reaping is prohibited on WMAs moving forward, and fanning and reaping is defined as hunting or stalking wild turkeys while holding or using for hunter concealment any of the following: a tail fan, a partial or full decoy with a tail fan, or a tail fan mounted to a firearm. And the tail fan includes those made of real or synthetic feathers, or an image or likeness of a tail fan applied to any material. So it's
okay.
We tried to be pretty comprehensive in explaining what it is, so nobody can be like, "Well, I didn't know." But,
right.
But yeah. So.
And there again, all this is documented or going to be written in black and white in the hunting guide, which is coming to your mailbox this year.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a sportsman license holder, you get the mailed directly to you. So that's a pretty nice change.
Yep, and it'll be on the website soon, and you can also find it ad free in some cases this year.
Yeah, how about that?
A little bit easier to flip through and find what you're looking for. So yeah. Well, I pulled up the website. Zach, we're going to cover a new survey we're doing this year. I called it a summer survey. Some people have called it a brood survey. We'll find out exactly what we call it today. But let's jump into what this survey is and why we're doing it. But before we do that, I'm going to say tn.gov, tn.gov/twra/turkeyobs is the short web link to get to this web page to learn more about it and to know how to take the survey. But also you can go to tnwildlife.org and click Turkey Observation Survey on the homepage. So, Zach, what is this and why are we doing it?
So, in the past, I believe since the late 80s in the summer, we've been asking TWA field staff to report turkey sightings they see, mainly hens with their young, or poults, as they're called, just to kind of get an idea of, in a general sense, how successful the hatch year was, just seeing what's out there on the landscape. And that's given us some pretty good data through the years, but this year we decided to take it public and ask everybody out there's help for if they're seeing turkeys, if they're seeing hens, either by themselves or even with poults, to report them and let us know what they're seeing. So if you're out there and you're seeing some turkeys, try to get an idea of where you're at, like what county you're in. Make sure you're seeing what's out there. If you see a hen with 5 or 6 poults with her, try to mark that down and get an idea of how many were out there. And on our homepage, you can visit the observation survey link. It'll take you to this page, a landing page, and there will be an option to either take the survey on the web browser, if you're at home on your computer, or on the web browser on your phone. There's also an option to download the Survey 123 app, where you can pull it up on your phone and report your observations while you're out there in the field. It's just a short little survey letting us know where you're at, what you're seeing, how many poults are with the hen, generally how old they are, and there's all kinds of, we have guides to help you estimate how old the poults were, and it helps us really get through that data and get some better population dynamics, see roughly how successful the hatch year was, how just a general sense of how good our population's doing, and it's some really helpful data for us.
So we were talking earlier about the groups that get together, from other states and everything. Right. So we have an annual meeting of the Turkey Tech Committee, and one of the things that came out of some of that was related to the brood survey. So we were wanting to compare, productivity around the country, but we realized that a lot of the states, we do our brood survey or our summer surveys just a little bit different. Some of them would do it, for 2 months. Some would count all the birds. Some of them only count the broods, and so we made this effort to let's do it all the same way. So when we say we've got this many poults per hen, it means something across all the state boundaries. So we started doing that. Well, then the question became, how do we tell a good estimate from a bad estimate, right? And is there something that we can glean from, because some states were getting like 50 observations, and other states were getting 5,000 observations. And so you hope that the state that's getting 5,000 observations has a little more accuracy, right? So they did some testing, and they came up with, if you have about 2,000 observations, that kind of seemed to be where our confidence got pretty good.
Okay.
So statewide, we were getting about 2,000 observations a year just from our staff. But when we started trying to look at it regionally, we dropped below that 2,000. So we said, well, what can we do to get more observations? And we only have so many staff, and in some counties, it's like one person. You know?
Right.
We just don't have staff everywhere. And we said, well, there's people everywhere. And other states have extended their surveys to the general public, and we said, well, we should do this too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it's kind of been an effort to get more observations, have more confidence, and at a smaller scale, so we can look at it regionally instead of just statewide.
That's neat. Yeah.
And anybody can participate. If you go out in the afternoons and walk your dog around the park and you just happen to see some turkeys running around, feel free. I mean, sign up on the web browser, download the app, any way you can. Just try to get those observations in. If you're driving on your way to work and you see some turkeys on the side of the road, I mean, probably wait till you pull over to the side of the road. But just anyway, if you see turkeys, just let us know. Let us know where they're at, and regardless, it'll just help us better help the turkeys.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not just hens with broods and the baby poults. We're looking, if you see a bunch of gobblers or if you see turkeys and you don't know what they are, go ahead and report those. There's a spot say, I don't know, it's an unknown. I know it's a turkey, but I don't know if it's a male or a female. So but we'll use that information. We'll look at the hens to the males and have kind of a ratio, and my hope is to be able to use that ratio then with some other work that we're doing to kind of generate a statewide population estimate. So all the sightings are important to us. Report them all, not just broods or whatever.
That's good. I would venture to say we've got a lot of listeners that are tuning in that would be up for doing this. Like you said, out walking the dog or visiting the park or their backyard. A lot of folks just really aren't necessarily turkey hunters, but they'd love to help report, what they're seeing out there.
Yeah, and this is a summer survey, so it runs June 1 through August 31st.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
Just in that window. We're not expecting observations throughout the year, just for those 3 months, the summer period, basically.
Uh-huh.
Well, and we talked about it a little bit, but there's an identification quiz there to help you learn different age classes for those poults and things. I will be honest, I took it, and I think I made a 50. So, there is some ID help that I wasn't aware of, that you kind of get some training, and then you can take the quiz. If I'd had the training first, I think I'd have been okay. But and take the quiz up front. Go ahead and do that and get familiar, so when you're out seeing these birds, it'd be an easy way to take the survey.
Even when you're taking the survey, there's drop-down arrows next to some of the headings for the survey. You can click on those, and it'll give you a little reminder of what we're looking for, what you should be looking for, and it'll help you report and try to get some good data off what you're seeing out there. So there's lots of options out there for help if you need help identifying turkeys out there. So
good deal.
And I'll have to say that I think we've mentioned this in the video. We did do some videos on how-to. So go to this website. Let me go ahead and click to that. I think it's the Turkey ID page, right?
I think it's under the actual survey page.
Oh, yeah, it's under the survey. Well, we'll stick right here while we're here. Identification 101. So here's the information of identifying adult gobblers or jakes or hens or poults in different age classes. So this is a good page to to review. So there's the age class information, which is very handy. So let's go back. Is it under the survey?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So click here, the survey, correct. So you've got the option for the 1, 2, 3 or the browser. But the 1, 2, 3, what's cool about it is it can be taken offline, right? So even if you don't have service, you can do the survey, and then when you get home or get into a better service area, it'll upload it.
Yep.
Or it'll save it, and then you can upload it, right?
Yeah, if you take the survey and you don't have service and it's not able to send it, it'll save it in the outbox on the app. And so once you get home, you get on Wi-Fi or you're getting some better cell signal, it'll give you the option to send out your responses to the survey, so it'll be saved in there.
Yeah,
deal.
and all that is in that video on our website. So make sure you go check that out. It's got a great narrator, I'll have to say. Maybe not. Maybe it'd been better if Don did it. But yeah, check that out online. So it shows you how to do it both ways.
And a note on this page at the bottom of it, if you are trying to use the app or trying to use the web browser survey, my email's listed there. If you end up having any questions or having any trouble getting anything working, shoot me an email. Include your phone number in it if you want to, and I'll get back to you as soon as I see it, and we'll try to get all those hashed out.
Okay.
And you won't be upset if somebody hangs up on you?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, it's all. I'm here to help.
I think this will be great. Let's the folks that love to get out and watch wildlife participate in some of the work that we do, and I think it'll be great.
Yeah, that's great. Zach, I'm glad we were able to reel you back from North Carolina.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be home.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Good deal.
Yep. This has been very informative.
It has.
Thanks for letting us come on again.
I hope. Thank you for coming on. I hope people are excited about the new season changes and things coming up. Get out there and enjoy Tennessee's wildlife, whether you're watching it or hunting it or catching it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great place to be. So,
new guides will be out soon and mailed to your door, so be looking for it.
Remember tn.gov /twra/turkeyobs to take the surveys, to find the information about the surveys.
OBS for observation.
Or tnwildlife.org. Click the button on the homepage, and then you can find whatever else you need while you're there.
Exactly.
Shop.gooutdoorstennessee.com to get some hats. We got some new hats out there all the time, so check that out as well. Anything else? Am I missing anything, Don?
That's all I got.
Okay, that's all I got too. Guys, thank you all. Keep up the good work. Appreciate what you do for the agency and for the state. So,
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Keep up this nice show. This is great.
We'll keep it going. Keep it going for you out there. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.